We are continuing with the tour, Hilchos Yom Tov, Siman Tav Kuv Chaf Zayin. This is a Siman that, unlike the previous one, which is essentially something we don't do anymore, this one comes up from time to time, much more often in Chutz La'aretz than in Eretz Yisrael, is the halachas of Eruv Tavshilim. Yom Tov shechal lios be'erev Shabbos. Yontif that comes erev Shabbos. Lo yebshel betxila lezorech Shabbos b'Kadiira בפני עצמה. You're not allowed to cook in the first instance in a pot that's set aside for Shabbos. Da'ilo b'Kadiira achas יכול לבשל כמה שירצה. But in one pot I can cook as much as I want. Meaning, if I'm making on Friday chicken soup for Friday lunch, I can make a lot of chicken soup and have left over for Shabbos dinner as well. Aval mevashehu liyom tov, v'im hosir l'Shabbos. But you can cook for Shabbos, and if it's you can cook for Yontif, and if it's left over, you can use it on Shabbos. Val yedei Eruv, and through an Eruv, mevashel lechetchila ltzorech Shabbos. I can cook in the first instance for Shabbos. Ve'eruv zeh, and this Eruv, perush Rabbeinu Tam, Shtzarich l'asotso mipas, you have וממיני תבשיל. You have to make it both from bread and from cooked foods. Pas lafos alav. You have to make it from bread so that you can bake. Tavshil lebishul alav, and cooked food so that you can cook. Meaning, one's for the stovetop, one's for the oven. V'ri perush, and the Ri says, Dסגי בתבשיל לבד, that it's enough if he only uses a food cooked on the top of the stove, or apparently maybe even something baked in the oven. Well, just one is enough, and it will work for the other. For Av Rabbeinu Shimshon Hazakin Kasef Rabbeinu Tam, and our Rabbi Rabbeinu Shimshon wrote like Rabbeinu Tam, V'ken Bahag, and this is so too in the Baal Halachas Gedolos, V'ken Nahagu, and this is the minhag. And this cooked food has to be fit for eating with bread. Lafuke daisa, as opposed to excuse me, cereal, oatmeal, something like that you wouldn't put on bread. You don't eat it with bread. It's an independent thing. It doesn't matter how it's cooked, whether it's roasted, it's barbecued, it's boiled, fried. Any of these things will work. Ve'afilo adashim, even the lentils, shenisharu b'shulei B'kadiira, that are left at the side of the pot. Ushmani shenivdak b'sakin, and oil fat stuck to the side of the knife. V'goro, and you scrape it off. V'somei chalav, and you rely on it. As long as I have at least a kazais of the leftovers. Shazeyu shiro bein betchila bein besofo, because this is the shir, the required measure that I have to be able to consider it something that's eating and something significant. Bein le'echad, bein le'elef, whether I'm spending my yontif by myself, or whether I am in a retreat for Yontif with 1,000 guests. Some people say it's only good if I did this Erev Yontif. I cooked the lentils Erev Yontif. And if I cut the fat to eat meat Erev Yontif. Because now it's clear that I was doing it for Shabbos. Aval im nishar ha'adashim ha'ashmunim gimel or dalat yamim kodem ein somchim v'nira shari b'kol. But if the lentils or the fat is 3 or 4 days old, you can't rely on this. But the Torah says it seems to me that you can rely on it in any case. Next paragraph. Dagin katani meluchim, small salted fish. They were salted to preserve them. Afal pish ein bishula on bishula osra mishum bishula yakum. even though cooking them doesn't prohibit them from being used from a food cooked by a non-Jew. Nonetheless, it's still considered cooking for an Erev Tavshiling. Tebshil, to be the food that you're using. But if you only salt them and you don't cook them, that doesn't work. Even though you can eat them because of this. Next paragraph. Mitzvah al kol adam la'arev. Everyone has a mitzvah, or every household has a mitzvah to make an Erev Tavshilim. V'gam mitzvah al kol gadol ha'ir la'arev al kol b'nei ira. And so too, the gadol ha'ir is supposed, the greatest sages in the city are supposed to make for their entire city. V'nafkamina l'mishu tarud, and the difference is someone who's busy, or shachach, or he forgot. V'lo erev, and he didn't make an Erev Tavshilim. Shiotze Iruvo shel chavero, that he can use the rabbi's Iruv. Aval mi she'efshar lo la'arev ve'eno ma'arev. But someone that could do it, he has the time, he knows he's supposed to do it. He just, rather read the newspaper for another 15 minutes. Elismoch al Iruvo shel gadol here. He wants to rely on the rabbi's Iruv. Nikra posheya, he's called a sinner. Ve'eno yotzebo, and he cannot use his Iruv. When I'm making an Iruv for other people, tzarich sheyakavin bedato al oso shirotzei la'arev bishvilo. He has to have the intent for those people that he's including. Ve'eno tzarich lefarish ela shemaniach beklal al kol b'nei ha'ir. And he doesn't have to specifically say Ruvain and Shimon and Levi and Yehuda. He can say, I am doing this for all the people in the city. V'dai. And that's enough. V'kol mi shehu b'techum ha'ir. And this is good enough for anyone that's in the techum, the area, the walking area, the area you're allowed to walk in this city. Yotzibo. Aval oso sheniach b'shvilo ein tzarich l'das b'shas hanacha. But if I'm doing it for my family, I don't have to have das. It's for this child and this child and this child. I only tell them on Yom Tov that I made the Erev for you. Before they start cooking. If I'm making for other people, I have to be zocha, meaning some people outside my family. I have to be zocha using another person. Another person has to acquire the Iruv for all the people included. I cannot use a minor child or a Canaanite slave, but I can use an adult child, and a Hebrew slave. And the child that is already independent and is not supported by his father at all anymore is considered an adult. The gadol hasomech al shulchan aviv, and someone who's in kollel, and his wife is supported by his father or her father. Chashiv katan, he's a child. He's not an adult yet. Ve'ishto pasak. Can I use my wife? Can I give it to my wife and have her acquire for everyone? Pasak or alfas v'ri shemaske lehem al yada. That the wife is independent, that we're not considered one entity for this, and therefore she can acquire the Eruv for everyone. And my father, the Rosh, said that I cannot use my wife to acquire it from other people, because in terms of a household, the man and his wife are all one thing. And this is also what the Baal Ha'iter wrote. Now, how do I make an Erev Tavshilim? Lokeach ha'eruv biyado. You take the bread and the cooked food into his hand. Our minhag is to use a boiled egg. V'nosno l'mishi yesh lo zechus bishvil mi shema arev al yado. And I take these things and I give them to the person that is going to acquire it for the entire city, let's say. V'omer lo, zakei b'Iruv zeh b'shvil poloni. Take this Iruv for Ruvain, and if I'm doing it for one person, or for the entire city. V'notle v'zoche miyado. Then he takes it, and he acquires it for them. V'chozer v'notlo miyad hazoche. And I take it back after that. U'mavarech al mitzvot Iruv. And I say the bracha, baruch Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, asher kedishanu mitzvah v'tzvanu, al Iruv or al Iruv tavshilim. V'omer, and he says, B'dein yesh are lan, lafui, leveshule, latmune, ladluke, shraga, leme'ebed, kol tzarkana, miyam l'shabes, ulakol b'nei ha'ir hazos. He says, with this Iruv, it should be permitted for us to cook, and to bake, to cook, to put things on the plata, to light a candle, to light lights, and do everything we have to do for on Yom Tov for Shabbos. And if he's making it for the city, l'kol b'nei harazos, he includes for all of the people in the city. It should be said that the reason why it's in Aramaic is because the Aramaic was the commonly understood language. If you do not know Aramaic, you should say it in a language that you understand. It's interesting, the Rinat Yisrael Siddur, the very common Israeli Siddur, only has it in modern Hebrew. Or Lamish Yirtze, Lifrat, he can include anyone he wants. Va'af al pi sheniach Eruv, even though he left an Eruv. This is a very interesting thing. Kasav v'yad ni'arsal she'enu yachol lebshel miyom tov rishon l'Shabbos. He can't cook on the first day for Shabbos. V'ken kasav bal itter. And this is also what the Baal Hitter says. There is a huge machlokas about what this means, and there are two possibilities. One is that if the first day of Yom Tov is on Friday, you can't make an Erev Tavshil. It just doesn't work. Can't do it. You have to prepare everything before Yom Tov starts for Shabbos. That's it. Sorry. The other is, if you have 2 days of Yom Tov, Thursday and Friday, I cannot cook on Thursday for Shabbos. I can only cook on Friday for Shabbos. The second pshat is the one that people generally accept. I shouldn't say generally. This is what we're accustomed to do, and we never cook on Thursday for Shabbos, even if there's near tavshilin. We only cook on Friday for Shabbos, and it doesn't matter whether Friday is the first or second day of Yom Tov. The minhag is to cook then, and not michoshesh for this other limud in the Rosh. V'yachol laniach Iruv al das lios somech alav kol zman shukayim. He can rely on the Iruv as long as it exists. Afilu liyom tov acher, even for another Yom Tov. So, nechal or nevad kodem shebishel l'Shabbos, if the Iruv was lost, or I ate it before I started cooking for Shabbos, eno yachol v'shel alav afilu ba'oso Yom Tov. I can't cook even for that Yom Tov. Nishar menu kolshu. If some is left, and other girsaos in the Torah say a kazais has to be left, so I can rely on it. V'lachar shehichin tzarchei Shabbos, and after he's prepared everything he needs for Shabbos, yachol la'ochlo miyad. He can eat it immediately. Our minhag is to eat it at tzir shlishis. Hitchil be'isato. He starts making the dough for his bread, or she does. V'nechal ha'eruv, and the child comes by and eats the Iruv, or eats the bread of the Iruv. Amar Abaye Gomer. Abaye says he can finish. V'aviad ni'rosh sal kasav ika las tepuke b'milsei to Abaye. The Rosh says that there's a question as to what Abaye means. Iboy l'meimer Gomer isa zu shehitchil ba v'shuv lo yebshel v'lo yatmin. Does it mean I can finish this thing that I'm doing right now? I can finish baking the bread. Or if I'm making cholent, I can finish making the cholent. Whatever I'm doing right now. V'ken imi hitchil levashel bishul echa yirkamei. No. Levad. Whatever dish it is, I can finish that. Or shaving shehitil hitasek be'echad mitzarkei Shabbos ba'od ha'Iruv kayim gomer kol tzarkei Shabbos. Or does it mean that once I've already started preparing for Shabbos, I can finish everything I need for Shabbos? Ve'loshen mashmaken. And the language of the Gemara seems like the second one. Dekamer gomer, it just says finish. It doesn't say finish what you're doing. Dimashma kol tzarkei Shabbos, that implies all Shabbos. Ti'i asid lechud, a'isa lechud kai, havile gomer hadavar shakul ad yavo yorei tzedek. It would have said he finishes it, not he finishes. And this machlokas is out there and hanging until the righteous teacher arrives. This means this is a shaila that will stand until Eliyahu. We have no way of determining which one of these two interpretations of the Gemara is correct. Mi shelo irev aser lahadlik ner shel Shabbos. The next paragraph is someone that did not make an Eruv, it's prohibited for him to light the Shabbos lights. And just like if I didn't make an Eruv, I can't cook for myself, I can't cook for others. Even if I go to their house, meaning women are getting together for Yantiv. Shein ha'olam yodim hu le'acherim, because people don't know it's for other people. V'gam acherim asurim lebashelo, and other people can't cook for him. Vein lo tekana, he can't make it. So even, by the way, according to this, even if you're going out for all your Shabbos meals, you still have to make an Eruv tavshilim so that someone can cook for you. Because if you don't make an Eruv tavshilim, they're not allowed to cook for you. Elish yikne kimcho v'tavshilo le'acherim. He gives his the ingredients for his food and the flour for his bread to others. Them ofim vashlim v'nostim lo. They cook and bake for him, and they give it back to him. Because they're cooking their own stuff. And they give it to him afterwards. Even they can even come to his house and do this. Once you've given it to them as a gift, they've acquired it. The Bala Itter disagrees, and he says that other people, it's reasonable to say that other people can cook for someone that did not put his Eruv to tavshil down. The Shluchos Shalom Kamosa, because it's as if he's their agent at that point. Did it require that someone acquire it for them? That would be the issue. V'lo nihira, but the Torah says the position of the Baal Ha'iter does not appear correct to me. It says he's not allowed to cook for other people. If he intentionally cooked, even though he knew he didn't make an Eruv tavshilim, it's mutter. But if he's playing a trick and he's before lunch, he's cooking 2 pots, so I'm going to use them both today. Hotיר la'achas, and he doesn't eat from one at all. He's just leaving it for tomorrow. You're not allowed to eat it. Acherim she'irvu sheyachol liknos lehem. Hetiru lo chachamim. If there's no one around that can come and help him cook, and he didn't make the Iruv, no one wants to cook for him because they're busy cooking for themselves for Shabbos and Yom Tov, for Shabbos. The chachamim allowed mishum kedei chayav, took just enough what he needs, no more. Mishum kavod Shabbos, and for kavod Shabbos. Lasos davar muat. He can make a little bit. It's not a normal Shabbos meal. It's a normal weekday meal. V'yafihilu ba'atzmo kagon lafos kikar echad. He can cook 1 loaf of bread. He doesn't have lechem mishnah. Your problem. Ulevashel b'kadiרה achas. Cook 1 little cholent. V'adlik ner echad. 1 light. V'kasav Rav Meir Rottenberg sheyachol lechapes becheder shum chafetz b'ner. Maharam Rottenberg has an eitzah for this on Yantif. There's got to be a dark room in your house someplace. You can light a light to go in there and look for something. Afilu mibod yom, even well into the day. Laniach dolek adelayla, and you just leave the candle lit until the evening. Vim nisker b'yom rishon shel yom tov. If you remembered on the first day of Yom Tov, say Thursday, Friday, Yachol la'arev b'tanai. You can make a tanai when you're making your Eruv. You can make the Eruv on Yantiv. Shitnei v'yomer. He says, Im hayom kodesh eni tzarich le'eruv. If the first day of Yantiv is Yantiv, then I don't need an Eruv at all tomorrow. V'im hayom chol. But if today is chol, if the second day of Yantiv is actually Yantiv, u'lemachar kodesh, and tomorrow is Yantiv, With this Erev, I can cook and I can bake and all the various things that I need to do with the whole nusach. In tzarich lomer klum she'im kodesh hu harei kavar Yruv me'esmol ve'imu chol, and on the second day, yes, it doesn't have to do anything because if it's kodesh, he already made the Yruv from yesterday, and if it's not Yom Tov the other day, ein tzarich, he doesn't need anything like Iruv. He doesn't need an Erev dal. The kasav reinu v'harim davka de'es le midi debashim yesmol. This only works if he has some cooked food already. But if he doesn't, midi debashim le esmol lo mahani tana'a. Then the tonight doesn't work. V'nira she'ein tzarich. But the opinion of Rabbeinu Ephraim doesn't seem to be correct. V'ken kasav bal ha'iter, and this is what the Vadkis. V'davka b'shnei yomim tovim shel galius. There's only of the 2 yomim tovim of galus. Yachol aniach al tanai, that you can make an Erev al tanai. Aval yom tov shel Rosh Hashanah lo, but not on Rosh Hashanah, because of course Rosh Hashanah is one long day. If this ever comes up, you should ask your rabbi what to do with such a thing on the first day of Yom Tov. Everyone should have a wonderful day.